Hello everyone, how's everybody doing? Hope you're doing fine. Today we have another lecture. And first things first, want to make sure everybody knows, for those who still have time, we have a conference and it's going to be in Sweden, in Bora, Sweden. It's going to be on the 8th of June. If you can still make it, make your reservations and show up. Otherwise, you're going to miss all the fun. And I'm going to be presenting some stuff there. We'll be presenting some of the material I've been presenting essentially, which is foundations of physics and what is a physical interpretation. And I'm also going to be presenting another theory I have, and that has to do with the extinction of man. So I'm going to be presenting two theories over there, and well, if you don't go, you're going to miss them. You're going to miss the extinction of man. That's what you're going to miss. Some people ask if this is mate. Yeah, this is mate. It's a drink we drink in Argentina and southern Brazil, Rio Grande do Sul, and Uruguay, and Paraguay. They drink it, but it's called tereré. They drink it cold, tereré. So we have tereré and mate. This is mate. We drink it warm. It's a tea, a bitter tea. We don't call it a tea. We think of it as an excuse. You don't say to someone, "Hey, let's talk about that business we had." No, that's too violent. The way we do it, we say, "Hey, why don't you come over on Saturday and let's have some mate?" So the reason you're getting together is for the mate. Let's make that absolutely clear. In the course of which, you discuss girls and football and business or whatever, politics. So that's the way it works. Yeah, it's called mate. And we're hooked on it. Some people try it and they don't like it, they immediately reject it. Anyways, I'd like to talk. I was going to continue with what we were doing, uh, what was happening in the 17th, 18th, and 19th century regarding ether and vacuum. And I got a little sidetracked the other day, went on a little tangent. Today we're going to continue with that tangent. And the reason is there's this lady, what's her name? Lori Gardy. And she answered some of the, I invited her. The way it started really is this fellow, Degelman, I think is his name, and he referenced her paper. So I looked at her paper, made some comments about it. She came into the line because I invited her, by the way, and she didn't like what I said about her paper. That's, in a nutshell, what happened here. And so I'd like to address what she answered, to my criticism. So we have my criticism, her criticism of my criticism. Now we got another criticism. And yeah, we're on subject anyways because we're dealing with the ether. We're trying to get to the bottom of this thing we call ether. What is this ether? And is there such a thing in physics? Can we use that in physics, or is this nonsense? Okay, and that's what we're trying to figure out here. But as part of the issue, Lori made some comments that I thought needed to be addressed. Okay, needed to be addressed because what was it? I think 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago now, when I was in the Czech Republic, in Prague, I was presenting a theory on the extinction of man. Okay, and I was the only physicist, the only engineer in there. Everybody else was from the social sciences. It was one of these interdisciplinary get-togethers, conferences, sponsored by Oxford University. Okay, so while I was there, I asked some of the girls. There were several girls there, and I say girls because they were between maybe 25 and 35 years old. They were, I mean, compared to me, they were girls. Okay, and so I've been wondering about it, and I decided to ask them separately. Some of the issues that Lori raises. And I asked them, why weren't there girls? Why weren't there women, females, women, in physics? You have women wrestlers, kickboxing, you name it. They're all over the place, especially today. In this day and age, women are everywhere, especially in the West, right? But you won't find them in physics. And yeah, I'm exaggerating, of course. My point is that their presence is very feeble. You don't see them around. And the question is why? Well, what's going on? And Laurie raises that issue, right? And let me put her comment here. She raises that issue and she says, you stating that I am not a deep thinker is a huge insult to my intelligence. You should be ashamed of yourself. Now I know why women don't get involved in this stuff. You guys are a bunch of bullies. Instead of asking questions, you just insult and bully. Not nice. And right at the bottom there, you'll see what I get from women. I get all males, no females. It's like if I'm in an island in a boys' club of some kind. It's all guys, no girls. And those are the visits to, my physics site in YouTube. They keep track of that. And, I think the most I've ever had maybe was 10, 12% women visit. So, yeah, there are women out there that do get into technical and science sites. But usually women go into, cosmetics, beauty, Hollywood celebrities. They also get into politics. And these women, some of them have mouths of sailors. They'll cuss you out. They've got no problem. So I'm not sure bullying is the problem. It could be. I'm not saying it's not. The reason I'm raising this is that a couple of the girls over there in Prague did tell me that maybe it was bullying. So they had the same idea. And it is possible that women don't want to get into those, fights, especially with guys. Maybe that's one of the reasons. So, I decided to ask my wife. We sit down, we discussed. Said, a brainstorm more than discuss. It was like a mutual brainstorming, like, what could be the cause? She agreed that, women are not prominent in physics. And maybe it's something new that women are now just starting to get into physics. Maybe that's all it is. Maybe there's another reason. Maybe it's genetic. Maybe it's got to do with the way our brains are made, how we're structured. After all, women have babies, men don't. Uh, there are like certain roles already programmed by Mother Nature. Maybe this is one of them. Is that what it is? And another suggestion we had, and again, we can only propose and suggest and, brainstorm like anybody else. And another idea was that maybe, women have been kept down for so many centuries by men. Men are the guys who rule the world. Just now, women are starting to get a little of that power away from men. And maybe that's got to do with the fact that men kept women down for so many centuries. Maybe it's got to do with that. And so women kind of specialize, in other activities, maybe in philosophical, maybe they're better for language because of that. Maybe it's genetic, maybe it's education, or the way things develop, maybe it's a little both, What else can there be? But it's true, women are not into physics, not into science in general. And the numbers I just showed, 100% male. It's not only me. I've checked around and other people have the same situation. They realize that women are not into physics, in science in general. That's one issue. The other one is, that I want to address, is the one that she said about bullying. Okay, let me put that up there again real quick. She says, no, wrong one. Where was it? Here. She said, you guys are a bunch of bullies. Instead of asking questions, you just insult and bully. Not nice. Okay, let me address that. That's important to address also. And first thing you should know, uh, I was in prison for 3 years. When I came out, and I went out there and I started talking about my theory. I was very enthusiastic. I was very happy about it, and it's like you want to let the world know. And so I went into some of these physics sites and started to talking about the rote model of light. And I said, look, here I can explain light, I can explain gravity, I can explain magnetism. Well, you won't believe the backlash. I'm not talking about women here. I'm talking about guys against guys, right? I mean, they gave me hell. They threw rotten eggs in my face. They ridiculed my theory. If that wasn't enough, I went there and submitted manuscripts, articles to Nature and to Science, and I got that polite note back. Editorial space is very limited, but thank you and screw you, Bill. So yeah, you get a lot of that, and so the ambient out there is not nice at all. And I was stunned because I was not aware of that world. I hadn't published anything until then. So I didn't know what the publishing world looked like. I was just very naive and just went out there and said, hey guys, got a theory. And I didn't go out there bragging or anything like that. I went there like, mild mannered Clark Kent. I said, guys, I have a theory. Would you like to hear it? That kind of thing. Well, it was a pretty mean environment, and it is still. And also, there's a lot of censorship. Again, the mathematicians will not allow you to publish something, that in any way, puts what they've been doing for the last 100 years in doubt. That's the situation out there, and they'll cuss you out. There's no problem there. They have no second thoughts about that. And so the first issue I've got is that Lori thinks that this is just against her. This is the environment out there, okay? And I had to put up with that as well, and that's what we have out there. So in a way, all I can say is, here, I don't do this for a living. I got a few contributors in Patreon, handful of them, very nice people, and I want to thank them. Take the opportunity to thank them. But I don't live off of this. I don't make money off of this. All I do, these guys support me because they want to keep this going. It's a way of contributing not to my treasury. They're contributing really to the cause. Okay, and that's all it is. I'm not going to become a millionaire because of this. So this is not for the money. I'm doing this strictly for the hell of science. Just that. Just the hell of it. And so all I can tell is here, you can come here and cuss my mother if you want. I've received so many rotten eggs, it won't affect me at all. Okay. And so I'm a good sparring partner. You can come here, you can discuss, you can throw eggs in my face, cuss me out, no problem. And so this is a good way of training yourself if you're going to go out there into the world of so-called physics and the world of science, because these people are mean. They're SOBs. So it's up to you. This is a good site for that. Here you can try your ideas. I'm going to criticize. Believe me. If you insist on your theory and I think you've got garbage, I'll tell you in your face. And you can cuss my mother if you want. I don't care. It's just the way it is. Okay. So having said that, just be aware that there's a nasty world out there in so-called science. It's not nice. It's not what I thought it was, an exchange of ideas in a rational, constructive manner. That's not what exists out there. Not at all. Not at all. It's religion. People hold on to their religion and they're going to fight for their religion to the last breath. And if you come to think of it, if you look at the history, we got it throughout history. It's never changed. When the ideas of one clash against the ideas of another, there's always going to be a war. I was looking at a lot of the history, and you got everybody from Aristotle, throwing mud on Plato, on Democritus, on Pythagoras, and all these other guys. You've got the 17th century. or end of the 16th, you could say also. William Gilbert, uh, and what was his name? Bacon, Francis Bacon. They hated each other's guts. They talked nonsense about each other. They really sawed each other's floors around their seats. And Newton and Hooke, very famous case. Hooke was head of the Royal Society, not head, but he was a very influential guy in the Royal Society. And until Hooke died, Newton did not belong to the Royal Society. He didn't want to belong, and Hooke didn't want him there. When Hooke dies, not only does Newton come in, but he becomes the president of the Royal Society. First thing he does, he gets rid of all the portraits. Apparently there was only one, but maybe there were more. All the portraits of Robert Hooke. Today we have no image of Robert Hooke because Newton destroyed them. They hated each other's guts. And so, and then you have, what is it, Niels Bohr. He made Werner Heisenberg cry, even though they were on the same side, but, he made him cry. And not that they hated each other, but it's like, I need you to get my Nobel. And so it was one of those things. But so this has been going on for years, centuries. This is not new. So you better get used to it because I had to get used to it, okay? And that's all I can say. Okay, let me get on with this. Here we have Lori, and she says something a little more important. Let me get the right one here. Got the wrong one. See, here, let me get it the right one. She says the following. She says, I never use the word infinite. You are putting words in my mouth. Well, if I'm putting words in her mouth, I do apologize. But as I looked in there, no, I have nothing to apologize for. I did not put words in her mouth, and she did use the word infinite. She was just not aware of it. Again, I said that she's not a very deep thinker. She's not even a deep researcher, and I'll be honest with that. If she gets offended, I'm sorry about it. But I'm just being honest here. And let me repeat what she said. She wrote a paper. It's called A Medium of the Propagation of Light Revisited. Okay? Medium for the Propagation of Light Revisited. Section 5 of that paper, she says, on the medium for the propagation of light. In it, she says, this suggests that the vacuum of space, again, irrationality right there. She's saying vacuum of vacuum, space of space. That's all she said there. Vacuum and space are synonyms. She says, the vacuum of space consists of a medium of bound electron-positron pairs. This is, for all intents and purposes, Dirac C. Okay, we look up Dirac C and we find out that it's infinite. It says, this is from the Wikipedia, Dirac C is a theoretical model of the vacuum as an infinite. I highlighted because apparently she missed that key word, sea of particles. Okay, now she says that her phrase, all intents and purposes, is, she put that disclaimer there, that fine print she sprinkled there, like to cover herself. And she thinks with that she's got it fixed. Well, what's the problem with that? The problem is that her whole paper, look at the title of the paper, A Medium for the Propagation of Light Revisited. She's going to revisit, she's going to analyze the medium. And on section 5, again, on the medium. So the key word in her paper, in her entire paper, is the medium. She's going to be analyzing the medium. What medium is she going to be analyzing? Well, she says it's like the Dirac C, and the first question is, Dirac C is infinite. And she says that she never said infinite, but if she references the Dirac C, it is infinite. And what's she going to say? That she wasn't referring to that part of Dirac C? What was she referring to? To the color? Was she saying that Dirac C and her ether have the color red in common? I mean, what is she referring to if not? I mean, she's talking about the medium. So if we're talking about the C and we're talking about the medium, and Dirac says it's infinite, then what are we talking about other than the word infinite? Okay? And if you look up, I looked up another one that says, just to show that it's not only the Wikipedia, okay? If you look at another paper there, said we give an alternate definition of the free direct field, okay? Featuring an explicit construction of the direct C. The treatment employs a semi-infinite. They have infinite, now they have semi-infinite, because they don't know what other idiocy to invent in mathematical physics. So they have semi-infinite wedge product of Hilbert spaces. Okay, let's look up Hilbert spaces. What is that? Hilbert spaces arise naturally and frequently in mathematics and physics, typically as an infinite dimensional function spaces. What is an infinite dimensional? Okay, the dimension of V is infinite dimensional if its dimension is infinite. What is infinity? Use the symbol, that 8 lying down, is a concept describing something without any bounds, something larger than any natural number. Okay, so I'm not sure in what way I misquoted anything in what Lori wrote. She says her ether is like direct C. Direct C is infinite. And as you can see, infinite means without bounds. That means that they left that unspecified. Like saying, we're not going to worry about it. Let me tell you what I want to tell you about. I want to tell you about these little particles that are here. No way. The ether refers to the whole shebang. That's what the word ether refers to. You're going to say that you moved the ether, that the ether vibrated, then you're referring to that whole thing. And you won't know if the ether vibrated if it's infinite. So we do have to solve that before we listen to any theory based upon the ether. Okay, we gotta cover that base. There's no way where you're getting past that. We got to look at your assumption. Okay. Here I have another statement. Well, let's get this one first here. Let's see if I can get it in here. She says the following: the vortex anti-vortex. This is in a comment that she puts in the video that I had uploaded, right? The real-time video. The vortex anti-vortex pairs, the medium for the propagation of light. She's saying that is, the medium of propagation is space, and she highlights that. She emphasizes that. I repeat, the sea of vortex pairs is space. She makes that very clear. So she's saying her medium is space and this ether are the same thing. Okay? They are not in space, nor are they something separate from space. I hope I'm understanding this correctly. She's saying space and this ether stuff that she talks about is the same stuff. Before the vortex pairs emerged, the concept of space did not exist. It was only after the vortex pairs emerged that space existed. Space is everywhere that matter isn't. Matter is everywhere that space isn't. Matter displaces space, vortex pairs, right? So she's clarifying one more time that space is vortex pairs, right? And space replaces matter, unpaired vortices. Again, because this is important, the medium of the propagation of light is space, is the dark stuff. Okay, we analyzed that some time ago, a couple weeks ago, and here it is. The direct C is infinite. Okay, she's now clarifying her C is not infinite. But she says something worse. She says that space is equal to ether, which is scenario number 2. She's got a blank screen so far. She has no particles in there. She has no vortices, no vortex, no particles, no nothing. Because space is the same thing as, there's only one thing, she says. Ether is space, space is ether. There it is. Space is equal to ether. So we reject both the direct C, the infinite C, and Lori's space ether. Both of them are irrational. Any person proposing this is an irrational individual and is proposing an irrational theory. The only way you can accept the ether to some degree, it's got problems, but at least as a starting point, is the third one, ether within space. Which in that case, what the person has to do is tell us just what space is once we remove all the ether. That's all they have to do. But Lori's ether, either way, whether she has it as infinite or whether she has it as space equal ether, both are irrational proposals because we have no particles in Lori's space equal ether. What's giving contrast to each particle? That's what she's got to answer in this situation, in this scenario. And if she can't separate her particles from space, if she says space is those particles, what's giving shape to each particle? That's the question she's got to answer. She can't continue. She can't tell me that, a positron, annihilates with an electron or whatever nonsense there she learned by rote from high school or college. That's nonsense. First, she's got to tell us what these particles are surrounded by, what gives shape to each particle. That's what we want to know. We got to get to the bottom of the ether. Okay? So this is the issue. And this is the issue that these people avoid. They just jump and they want to go ahead. They don't want to deal with these little issues. They say, oh, that's semantics, that's metaphysics, ontology. We don't deal with it. Just let me talk about the ether. Let me show you how these particles vibrate or annihilate or do whatever. No way. No way. The way we do it in science, the way we do it in physics, you got to straighten out your hypothesis, your assumption first. If you can't figure out your assumption, we take the microphone away. Go do your job over there. Go do more research in your dark basement. You haven't done enough work. So no, she's not only not a deep thinker, she's not a deep researcher. She hasn't done any research on this because the only important word in her whole paper is the word medium. What is a medium? Has she defined it? Has she looked up the definition of the word medium before she used it? Of course not. She hasn't done that. She wants to talk about particles. She dives right in there like assuming that, we all know what she's talking about. No, you got to fix the ether. And she hasn't fixed the ether. And if she fixes the ether, she has to tell us what space is. And if space is equal to ether, we've got a blank screen. That's all we got. We have no particles because space is equal to ether and we can't see particles in there. All we have is one. To see particles, you need two. I hope that's clear. I mean, I'm not sure how I can make it more clear than that. Okay, and just wanted to put this up here. And this is a summary. Essentially, she's saying this is her ether. Space is equal to a concept, she says. Space is a concept, she says. She also says space exists. Already flunked there. That means she has no idea what she's talking about. If space is a concept, which is correct, space cannot be said to exist. Only objects can be said to exist in physics. And it takes a long time to educate someone in the word exist. Okay, so that's the first problem. Major failure there. Okay, then she says ether is equal to space. Great, okay. So ether is, she says it's also equal to this vortex, anti-vortex pairs, whatever that nonsense is. And that's equal also to electron-positron pairs, which is what she has in her report, in her paper. So vortex is the same thing as these electron-positron pairs, which I'm assuming she's referring to particles, whatever particles are, right? And so she turns these vortex into, or equates them. She's saying these vortex, anti-vortex pairs are the same thing as electron-positron pairs. Whatever all that nonsense is, because all of that is nonsense so far. So far she hasn't hasn't contributed anything to science. Okay? Ether, she says it's some kind of body, some kind of object, some kind of medium. Well, if it's a medium, how can it be equal to space, which is a concept? See, if space is a concept and ether is equal to space, and ether is also equal to an object, to a medium, well, we got a problem because, a medium is an object for the purposes of physics. And if space is a concept and ether is an object, we got a problem because ethers and concepts and objects are not the same in physics. And so she hasn't even got her language straight. And of course she might say, well, those are your definitions. Great. The way we do it in science is you have to defend your definitions. And this is what I'm criticizing of her paper. I'm saying that she doesn't know the difference between an object and a concept. If she says that space is equal to ether, space is a concept, but ether is an object. Then she has no idea of the language that she's using. Okay? Then she says ether is approximately equal to the Dirac sea. She doesn't want to say that is equal. I don't know what approximate means in this case because in physics we only have objects and concepts. If it's not an object, it's a concept. We're done. Either it has shape or it doesn't have shape. That's it. There's nothing else. There's no third. There's no maybe. Okay? And then she says, and then the direct C is defined today as an infinite number of particles. So, again, there's nothing I need to apologize until she can make me see, or anyone for that matter, what I'm doing wrong here. I'm saying the ether is a medium. That's what it's taken to be. It's taken to be a bunch of particles. So we only have two choices. The particles are finite or they're infinite. If they're infinite, it's not a medium. It's not a medium because there's no medium that is infinite. Medium is that which has shape. There's no infinite shape because then you can't call it ether. You don't even know if it's an infinite elephant for all we know, or an infinite chair or whatever. How do you know what you're in if you can't see it from far away? You got to look at objects from a bird's eye perspective. Then you can say that's a table. You can't be inside the ocean and saying I'm pointing to the ocean. That's the issue. So the person who proposes ether as an object has to draw it. That's the first thing. You got to draw the ether. And since no one does it, I'm going to do that today. Nobody takes the trouble, I'll take the trouble, okay? I'll put words in their mouth. They don't want me putting words in their mouth, and they better do it. Okay? Because anyone who introduces ether as an object has to draw it. That's the only way. There's no other way, okay, in physics, in real physics, okay? Okay, so let's start with a little education. And where does the education start? The education starts in physics. These people haven't gone through kindergarten physics. That's why you have people like Ken Wheeler and Walt Thornhill. These people are amateurs. They're not a physicist. They have no idea what physics is. These people are so out of it. They're dealing with concepts. Eric Dollard, another one. These people have no idea what physics is. That's the problem. And physics starts at the language. You have to define this discipline known as physics. And where do we start? We start saying that you absolutely need to do an object in physics. You can't do physics without an object. That's how simple it is. You can't do physics. What would there be? If God comes and wipes out all objects in the universe, what's there other than God, What's out there? Nothing. What's happening? Nothing. What do you see? Nothing. What can you experiment with? Nothing. Because there's nothing there. You've removed everything. You removed energy. You removed fields. You removed virtual particles. You removed everything. So what's there to study if you have absolutely nothing? A blank screen. So the first rule of physics, a sine qua non cornerstone, is that you need to have an object in physics. He who denies that is in the wrong field. He's got to do singing or stand-up comedy, something else, not physics. He's not a physicist. He's a spiritualist. All physics is materialist. Sorry to break that news to you. You can't do physics without matter. You can't do physics with nothing, with absolutely nothing. You need something there, okay? And it's very hard sometimes to understand why people don't understand that. And the only explanation is that people are spiritualists. They have this thing that, we have the soul out there flying, into heaven. That's what they have in their minds. Because other than that, there's no way you can explain how something can be occurring if you don't have objects. Objects perform motions. So the first thing we do in science, in physics, right, as it relates to physics, is I put what I call the golden principle, okay? What's the golden principle? The golden principle is physics requires an object. You can't do physics without an object. What is an object? It's what we call something. And something is that which has shape. Synonyms, object, thing, anything, medium, entity, body, substance, structure, all these are synonyms. They all mean the same thing. So if you say medium, I think object. You don't like me using the word object like for air. Say, well, air is not an object. You're thinking of ordinary speech. You're not thinking of scientific language. You're not thinking of language of physics. Physics, it's either has shape or it doesn't. If it doesn't, we're going to call it a concept. It's that simple. Nothing, that which doesn't have shape, okay? And synonyms, space, vacuum, empty. They're all the same words. So you can call it nothing, you can call it vacuum, you can call it space, I don't care. It means nothing. That's what it means, literally, okay? So these two words are antonyms, something and nothing. Something, that which has shape. Nothing is that which doesn't have shape. Now we can use these words consistently in physics. Okay? So, let's see if we can do some kindergarten physics here. Okay? And I have to start at kindergarten because, these people haven't gone through kindergarten. They want to do college stuff and they haven't done kindergarten stuff. In kindergarten, you got to start with little blocks, say A, B, C, and you put the blocks and you build your little castle. That's what we're going to do here. I'm sorry I have to go to such a deep level, but these people are, I might be insulting them, but maybe I'm just being honest. They're retarded, okay? Let's put it the way it is. Anyone who cannot understand the difference between an object and a concept really has a problem. Who cannot understand the difference between love and a heart, between location and a dot. And you say, well, it's just a point. Well, which is the point? Is it the location or is it the dot? In front of me, I got a dot. And you're pointing and you call it a point, that's a dot. Well, yeah, that's not what I mean. Don't take it so literally. No way. Not in physics. Physics is literal. Okay? Okay, so let's start at square one. Let's see if we go slowly because these people don't have the brains for this. Okay, so I got to go very slowly. Sorry if some of you are yawning. Okay, but I have no other choice. Okay, because these people don't understand kindergarten stuff. You have what is called a kangaroo. It's a little animal that's over there in Australia. Okay, and you have a jumping kangaroo, one that's jumping. Kangaroo is an object for the purposes of physics. A jumping kangaroo is not an object. This is a photograph, kangaroo. This is a movie, jumping kangaroo. A movie is not an object for the purposes of physics. It is for ordinary speech, for people who don't understand physics, who've never done physics in their life, who've never taken a course in kindergarten physics. For those people, they can't tell the difference. But a physicist should be able to tell the difference between a kangaroo and a jumping kangaroo, okay? So here it is, okay? Let's see if you can tell the difference. The guy on the left is called a kangaroo. The guy on the right that's jumping there, that's not an object. That's called a movie. It's a dynamic thing that we're seeing there. In other words, that does not qualify as an object. An object has to stand still in physics. We point to objects in a still image. The word object is a static concept. It's not a dynamic concept. There is no motion embodied in any object in the universe for the purposes of physics. There is no such thing as a dead cat or a live cat like in the religion of quantum mechanics. In physics, we have a cat. There's no white cat, no black cat. There's no jumping cat, no flying cat. There's no such thing. Nouns of physics come without adjective, without qualifiers. It's just a cat. Okay, and that takes a long time for people to understand that. Okay, so we don't, hopefully, people understand the difference between a kangaroo and a jumping kangaroo. Was this too difficult for some of you? I don't know, because we're going to get a little more complicated here, okay? Here goes the next one. Let's see, you've heard of the word vortex. In fact, she uses it, a lot of people, especially the numbskulls of the electric universe, they use the word vortex a lot, okay? So what is a vortex? Well, a vortex is a swirl of something. It's something in motion. If you take the motion away from a vortex, what you have is an ice cream cone. That's what a vortex is without motion. And if you can't tell the difference between an ice cream cone and a vortex, well, you got a problem. You really, got a mind of a 2-year-old. Maybe you're not even qualified for kindergarten physics, okay? So here it is, okay? Let's see if you can tell the difference. The guy on the left is known as an ice cream cone. That's known as an object. You can see that it's not moving. The guy on the right is something that's swirling around. It's moving. That is not a static object. It does not qualify as an object. So don't tell me that a vortex did this or a vortex did that because it's already doing something. There's no such thing as a standalone vortex. Standalone vortex is an ice cream cone. Do we have that right or not? Can you understand this, or is this over your head? So anyone who uses the word vortex is an idiot. Okay? You like the word idiot? Let me put it up there because I had to look that up as well because people don't even know what an idiot is. Here we have the definition of idiot. What is an idiot? Here we have it. Idiot was formerly a legal and psychiatric category of profound intellectual disability in which a person's mental age is 2 years or less. Is that what you are? You can't tell the difference between a vortex and an ice cream cone? And he or she cannot guard against common dangers. Okay, great. Along with terms like moron, imbecile, and cretin, the term is now archaic and offensive and was replaced by the term profound mental retardation. Well, I'm sorry I called you an idiot. I'll say that you have profound mental retardation. I like that better, maybe. Okay, nowadays, idiot is a derogatory term for a stupid or foolish person. Okay, we got to define these terms because people don't even know what an idiot is. They look at themselves in the mirror and they think they're smart. They think they're physicists. Oh yeah, I can do physics. I can figure out how this universe works, and then they come with vortex. That's how deranged these people are. Okay, I think we got the kangaroo and the ice cream cone. For some of you, I know it's very difficult, but maybe some of you can get past that, okay? I hope so. So let's go with another word, especially used by the numbskulls, idiots of the electric universe, okay? All the electric universe. Here we have them. They use the word plasma, and they think plasma is a physical object. And it's not. In here, we'll see it. Well, hold it. Let me get another one here. Where is it? Here it is. Here we have plasma, famous plasma of the electric universe. Let's see what these numbskulls, these retarded, what was the term, retarded, mentally retarded people have. Okay, the one on the left is known as a gas. That's, by the way, CO2. But again, it's a drawing of CO2. Could be any gas, could be air, hydrogen, whatever. The one on the right, as you can see, is not standing still for some reason. It's not standing still because plasma is ionized gas. It's not gas, it's ionized gas. Now, what does the word ionized mean? Well, it means that something is moving. That's what it means. Whatever it means in detail, we don't care. We've got motion in that gas. And gas with motion is not a physical object. Doesn't qualify as an object for the purposes of physics. In ordinary speech, you can use anything you want. You can use it in your Sunday school with your preacher, whatever. We don't care. In science, in physics, there is no motion in an object, not embodied in it. And that's what plasma is. Plasma is ionized gas. You must strip an electron from its atom in order to produce this thing called plasma. So if I take a picture of that, what I'm going to get is either gas or a bunch of little balls, and I won't know what that is. The ET will say, well, those are a bunch of little balls if I take a picture. And then you would have to explain, oh no, see, we ionize the gas. Well, then it's not a physical object. Objects are all standalone, static objects before we move anything for the purposes of physics. Now, I don't know how else to explain this, but he who cannot understand this is simply an idiot. What's the correct term? Retarded, mentally retarded. Okay, sorry, I called you an idiot. I'll call you mentally retarded. So anyone using the word vortex or the word plasma as a physical object is mentally retarded. Okay? Now, here's even worse because, see, when you go in there and you look up plasma, not only do you have this situation, which comes from the electric universe, by the way, they draw arrows to show that the atoms and the electrons are moving, and the ions in this case, right? Ions and electrons are moving, right? So why did they draw the arrows? Because they realize that plasma is a dynamic thing. In other words, it's not a static thing. You can't take a snapshot of plasma without putting those arrows in there and showing that they're going to move. But it gets worse when you go on the right side where it says plasma is a state of matter. Clearly, if plasma is defined, the word plasma is defined as a state of matter, clearly the word plasma is not a physical object. Is the word solid a physical object? No, solid is a category. Is liquid a physical object? No, liquid is a category. And you have molasses, you have water, you have different liquids in there. Liquid is a category. As such, it is not a standalone physical object. You can't say liquid is the way it's used here in this context, where it's a category, is not a standalone physical object. It's referring to the category. Gas, same thing. And where does plasma go? Well, it's a state of matter. If plasma is defined as a state of matter, for sure it's not a physical standalone object. Okay? So anyone using the word plasma or the word vortex as a physical object is a mentally retarded person. Okay? So that I don't offend anyone. Okay? It's just they don't have the capability. They have the mind of a 2-year-old. Okay? That's fine. Okay? Just so you know where it stands. Does it stop there? No. We have another idiocy coming, especially from the electric universe. They use the word electricity, and they say electricity is a physical object. My God. You have Walt Thornhill here, he says it's a physical object. And, when I point that out to them, they say, well, put your 2 fingers in the socket and you'll find out if it's a physical object. Well, what can I say? We don't test it like you do in the electric universe. We don't but go ahead and do it. If that's the way you test objects in your religion, go ahead and put your fingers in the socket and tell me about it later, okay? Now, the way we do it in science, the way we do it in physics, we define the word object. If the word meets the definition, the specification, it qualifies as an object. Otherwise, it doesn't. Very simple, straightforward. So what is this thingy that they call electricity? Let's see if we can see a static picture of that. Well, here's the more static that I can get, okay? And as you can see, it's got a lot of stuff moving around. And these are different representations you'll find on the internet, okay? The ones on the bottom, okay? That's what they call electricity or current or whatever they call it. Well, is that a picture? Is that a static image of electricity? Can I take a picture of electricity and bring it to you? Assuming I had God's camera, right? Can I take a picture and bring it to you? What would I see? I would see, assuming this is the correct representation, the one that they have in quantum, little electron beads flying from one atom to another. If I take a snapshot of that, will the ET understand that that's a flow of something? No, of course not. Electricity has to have that word flow in there. And if it's got the word flow, it's not a static standalone object. You can't say electricity is a physical object because it's dynamic concept. There is no such thing as a dynamic object. There is no such thing as a jumping kangaroo. No such thing as a flying eagle. No such thing as a swimming fish. No such thing. Thing, static. Image, shape. Okay? Until you understand it, you haven't gone through kindergarten physics. And that's going to be the criticism against the ether, by the way, right? Okay, here we have the famous Birkeland current that the retarded people at the electric universe use. They love the Birkeland current. They go all over the place with it. Here it is. Okay, here's the Birkeland current. Let's see what it is. Birkeland current is a set of currents. Love that one. A current is a current, okay, that flow. So we have a current that flows. Oh, that's great. Because, it turns out that the electric current is the rate of flow of something called an electric charge. So if we go back, put that into the first definition, we have Birkeland current is a set of currents that flow. And what is the electric current? It's a rate of flow. So we have a set of rates of flows that flow. That's what we have so far. So we have rate of flows that flow. Excellent. And what is electric charge? Electric charge is a physical property of matter. Okay, what is a property? Well, or a physical property. Physical property is any property. Love it. They define with synonyms. Okay, what is a property? In mathematics, a property is a characteristic. Great. What is a characteristic? Characteristic from the word blah, 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 says may refer to any characteristic. So we have a bunch of synonyms, and we have the flow of flows. Love it. That's what a Birkeland current is. And of course, if it's a flow of whatever, it's not a Birkeland current is not a physical object. You cannot say in physics, in your religion, in your Sunday school, you can say whatever you want. We don't care. Ordinary speech, we don't care. In physics, you cannot say a Birkeland current did this or did that because there is no physical object called a Birkeland current. There's no physical object called a current. There's no physical object called electricity. No physical object called plasma, and no physical object called vortex. You can't use these words as physical objects in physics, you idiot. I'm sorry, you retarded, what was it? Mentally retarded individual, 2-year-old. Okay, do we have that straight? Okay, but you know, I like the punchline. This guy sends me, what was his name? He sends me to a site, and he says, "Here you can see the plasma universe," and it clarifies it's not affiliated with the electric universe. By the way, they do plasma, but for some reason they're not affiliated with plasma with the electric universe. But they have been blessed by NASA. That was the important part that I like, because see, these guys are official. It's known as the plasma universe. I said, oh, we got to look at this. Let's see what they have to say. Okay, let's see if I can find it here. I got so many of these sometimes. I think it's this one. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so it says, what is plasma? And this comes from an official site blessed by NASA, okay? Neither solid nor liquid nor gas, a plasma most closely resembles the latter, okay? But unlike gases whose components are electrically neutral, plasma is composed of, he says, electrically charged particles. Okay, we looked up what charged particles are. And down at the bottom, you'll see it at the bottom left, possessing a property. That's what charged means. Okay, so that doesn't tell us much. It's like you possess love. Okay, great. And what is particles? Well, officially it's an excited field. And what is a field? A region. So we have an excited region. So that's what electrically charged particles means. Plasma consists of a collection. What is a collection? Well, it's gathered to accumulate things. Okay, so we have a collection. Great, that's what a plasma is, a collection. And it's free-moving electrons. What's moving? 2 or more locations. So we have something that is moving. Again, nothing static. So if that's what plasma is, they're already wrong. Electrons and ions. Atoms that have lost electron. What does the word lose mean? Be without deprivation of. You got motion there. Okay? You got something, someone stole something from you. That's how you lost it, maybe. Okay? Energy is needed to strip electron. What does strip mean? To remove, to take away, to deprive. So all of this famous plasma is a dynamic concept. There is no standalone object called plasma. Okay? But what was the good part about it that I wanted to get to? Here is, this one I loved. And this is, again, a NASA site. It shows you how these people are mentally retarded. This is what the plasma universe says. Plasma is overwhelmingly the dominant constituent of the universe as a whole. Plasma is by far the most common form of matter known. Plasma in the stars and in the tenuous space between them make up over 99% of the visible universe, and perhaps most of that which is not visible. And you go to the NASA, the guys who blessed them, and you go also to the Department of Physics in Oxford, and these people say something else. They say that 70% of the universe, or thereabouts, is something called dark energy, and most of the other stuff is dark matter. There is no mention of plasma. So do we have a contradiction here? I mean, is this plasma the same thing as dark energy? Is that what dark energy is? Maybe these guys should get a Nobel for discovering that. I mean, they figured out what dark energy is. It's this plasma that's out there. And these guys are blessed by NASA. So it shows you, what all these medals that they give each other are worth. They don't even look at these sites. This guy says, look, 90% or whatever, 99% of the universe is plasma. Whatever that is, because obviously it's not a physical object. It's something in motion. And the other guy said, okay, we'll give you a medal for that. And then they say something else. 70% of the universe is dark energy, and we don't know what that is. And these guys say, oh, we know what it is. It's plasma. You figure it out. That's how these guys, operate. We have no more science anymore. Not with these, what is it, mentally retarded. I don't want to insult anyone, so I'll just call them mentally retarded individuals. Anyways, I won't be here until the 12th of June. That's when I'm going to have my next class, because I'm going to, next couple days, I'm going to the east, to Singapore. And then when I return, I'm going to Sweden, to the 7th Rational Physics Conference. And after that, then I'll be back here to talk a little more about maybe even plasma, but specifically about the ether. We want to get down to the bottom of the ether in this word that has been following us for what, over 2,000, I'd say 2,500 years at least. We still have the ether. We have the ether in general relativity. We have it also in quantum mechanics. Electric universe everybody uses space equal ether, just like Lori said. They all use the same notion that space and ether are the same thing. That space is made of ether, not that ether fills space. They sometimes they contradict themselves. Sometimes they say ether fills space, or that space is filled with ether, whichever way they want to word that. And then they tell you, oh, by the way, space and ether are the same thing. One is equal to the other. One is not inside the other, but then they use the word filled. And you talk about empty space being filled with ether. And they're not careful with their language. They say, you understand, don't you? No, I don't. Sorry. I don't. I don't understand when people are irrational and people say nonsense. And that's where we stop here. The buck stops here. And again, we don't do this for money. We do this to educate people. And above all, we need to learn language. Above all, we got a problem with language. And that's the first one. A lot of people don't want to deal with language. They say, that's grammar. I didn't come to learn English. I came to learn physics. The problem is that unless you understand the language, you're not going to understand anything about physics, especially if you're going to rant about vortex and plasma and electricity being physical objects. Okay, with that, I'm going to see you, I think it's on the 12th of June. I think it's 12th of June, which is a Wednesday. And I'm going to Singapore, then Boris, and then come back here. So we'll see you then, and have a good weekend. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.